Deacon Jonathan Ignacio, welcome to In the Pews.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is exciting and a bit scary too, you know?
Is it? Oh,
Yeah. You said I'm going to take the hot seat now, right? Yeah.
Now, you are the newest permanent deacon here at St. Faustina. How long have you been here?
Well, my wife and I just recently moved to Houston about 6 months ago, June. And I actually got my formal assignment to St. Faustina in August.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So just 4 years, and it's
4 months, you mean?
4 months. 4 months. Yeah. Correct.
Does it feel like 4 years already?
No, not at all. Not at all. But it's really a blessing for us. We're really thankful for God leading us to this fantastic community, though. Yeah.
Now, you didn't grow up here in Houston, huh?
No.
Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Manila, Philippines.
Wow. You don't look Filipino to me. Do you have a different, a blood other than Filipino blood?
Yes. My mom, on my mom's side, definitely, she's American, and my grandfather.
So Caucasian.
Caucasian, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, why was he in the Philippines, your grandfather?
Well, I believe he came to the Philippines as part of the military.
Okay.
And then he decided to stay, met my grandmother, married, raised a family, and then put up a business. Yeah.
Okay, and then so your mother was raised in the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the language, the culture, and all of that.
Pretty much there. Yeah.
And then your dad's side of the family is
my dad's side has a Spanish part of it.
like many Filipinos.
Just
there's
like
a lot.
definitely, it's part of the heritage for most of the families in the Philippines, though, right?
Is it deeply Spanish?
Yes. From tradition and culture, and at the same time, when they communicate, the Ignacio clan, especially, all my uncles and aunts and my grandparents and other relatives, they speak straight Spanish.
Oh, wow.
As kids, we're being foolish. Like my grandfather, we grew up with him. He would always tell us, learn the language. But that's like kids, nah, we don't need that or something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
But it is a total regret on my part right now, especially even when we were in university, I said, I should have learned the language. I should have
Especially now that you're in Houston.
Oh, definitely.
With a lot of Spanish-speaking people.
Even in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. With the Cuban population, yes.
Yeah. Even in Florida, that's where we came from before moving to Houston.
Oh, it would have been an advantage if you had known how to speak it.
And
yeah.
it would really be nice to be able to communicate on the language, right? But I'm learning. I'm really making it a conscious sort of commitment to learn the language, but it would take a little while, but at least I could understand, as you know, in the Philippines, we have Spanish as part of the curriculum, right?
Yes.
That's 4 years in universities. And at the same time, that exposure that I had on my father's side,
yes,
it helps a lot. Though.
So you know a little bit. And a lot of Filipino words that are
definitely.
Spanish origin as well.
You're right.
Now, did you learn to speak Filipino as well growing up?
It's basically a natural language for us, right?
Okay.
Filipino.
So you didn't go to an international school?
No.
So you went to a Catholic school like most Filipinos?
From grade school, high school to university, it's a Catholic school.
Okay. Now, growing up in a Catholic school, what was your faith life like? Were you very strong in the faith? Did you, were you an altar boy?
Oh, yes. I've been very engaged with mass since high school or even grade school, serving and then attending special classes when it comes to religion, and then prayer groups and things like that. Even when you say prayer group, it's different from what we know now as prayer group, right? But rosary groups. Right?
Yes.
Right. Where in lunchtime, instead of playing basketball, we would just go into the chapel after eating and then praying with the priest in front of the tabernacle.
Really?
And just say the rosary, right? The same thing. Sometimes during weekends, they would have a weekend night with the students. And it's really more of just understanding our faith, right?
Did you think about becoming a priest when you grow up?
Yes, it's been there. I remember, as I said, as I grew up with my grandparents, right? And my grandpa would always stay up late, and I would stay in their room, and I would start drawing churches, right? churches. And then people would, and relatives would ask me, what would you like to be when you grow up? And I would always say, I want to be a priest. I want to be a priest.
Because you're drawing churches all the time.
Right. Plus, my time being spent at the churches with the religious brothers and then priests in that regard, right? And then plus, my family is very religious in that sense, especially my parents and my grandparents. I mean, like my grandfather, you would see him start his prayer about 10 in the evening, right? And I would say my good nights, living in his room. Middle of the night or even early in the morning, I would see him. He's still praying, right? And one time I asked him, I said, Grandpa, how come you're praying so long, right? So long. And his answer was, it stuck with me because I'm praying for each and every one of you.
Wow.
Yeah, is that fantastic?
Wow.
Each and every one of you, right?
Did you have a lot of cousins?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
So it was a big family, and he had to pray for every single one of the grandkids.
and you know how it is with them, though, right? In terms of extended family, right? Cousins, nephew, nieces.
Oh, they're like your brothers and sisters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the patriarch, the grandpas, right? Each of them, pretty much, they try to treat them all equally, right?
Yes.
So if he's praying for me, I'm sure that he's praying from a cousin or somebody else that's way, way far off, right? Yeah. And that's him. He's just praying constantly, right? That's every night.
So did you seriously consider becoming a priest when you were in high school or in college?
High school, yes. As a matter of fact, in our high school, they have a group, aspirants, basically, right?
Okay.
Wherein you're being sort of nurtured as you go into your high school years, prepare you, let's say when you graduate from high school, to make a decision in terms of whether you would go to the seminary or not, right? And I reached that point, right?
Oh, wow.
I reached that point wherein I attended and been a member of that group. But at the same time, when that time came, God allows certain things to happen. And maybe he has a plan. And I always believe he always have a plan, right? If it didn't materialize the way you were envisioning it, then he has other plans for you, right? So the circumstances didn't allow me to go into seminary.
Okay.
And I didn't understand that at first, right?
Mm.
And that was right before graduation from high school, right? I didn't understand that. I said, Lord, trying to sort of presenting myself to serve you, right?
And it's not happening.
And it's not happening. And you're putting a barrier right there, right? And it's a major barrier. So I said, okay. Let it go, right?
Was it family? Because a lot of the priests that we've had on the show, they say their family, struggled with them wanting to become priests. Was it that?
It was the special circumstances that transpired within the family.
Okay.
It's not that they didn't want me to be a priest. As a matter of fact, my mom would love me to be. I mean, when she was hearing that, she's happy to hear it, right? Right. But in a sense, circumstances didn't allow it. It was not possible.
Okay.
And I believe simply because God had a role for me to play within the family.
Okay.
That's why if I go into seminary, then it would compromise certain things. Yeah.
Are you the oldest in your...
But no regrets, though, because I understood that. When I sort of really look at it and then God reveals his plan for me.
It comes into focus.
And then I said, yes, because God said, I'm going to give you the perfect gift, which is my wife. This is my wife, definitely.
Are you, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, as I said, we're a big family. We're 8 in the family.
8? Where do you fall in the order?
I'm the fourth and the eldest among the guys. So
okay.
3 girls and then 5 guys. And I'm the eldest among the guys.
And did any of them consider entering religious life at any point?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware
But you were the most serious.
I think to a point that I could verbalize it when people talk about it and ask me, I can verbalize it. And they can see in terms of, like the kind of clubs that I'm joining and activities I'm doing when I was in high school. They sense that to a certain degree. And as a matter of fact, I went to the point of actually asking my parents in terms of, I'm graduating, right, soon from high school, right? And they're now asking the question whether I want to go to the seminary or what, right? So, yeah, to that point.
So then you went into college. What did you take in college?
Architecture.
Oh, because you like drawing.
Yes, and I said if I won't be able to be a priest, then at least I can design churches.
And did you go to a Catholic university as well?
Yes. It's a pontifical university.
Don't tell me it was UST.
Yes,
that's what we have in common. I went to UST as well.
There you go. And they have UST here, right?
Yes.
University of St. Thomas More, right?
My son goes to UST.
Right.
Yes.
That's right. My son's fiance. My son has been living here for about more than 5 years now, right? He's working here in Houston, and while we're in Florida, and his fiance just graduated last May at
UST.
UST.
Okay.
With her master's, and I had the opportunity to attend her graduation, right? So I said, "Oh, we're at the same school." I was just teasing her, right?
I would suppose that did you date around in college, or were your parents very strict? Were they hoping that you might still become a priest, or?
No. I think after high school and things didn't sort of work that
out.
way, then no. Because I even practically put that aside, right? Yeah.
And then so you went into architecture, and that's what you...
Yes.
And you met your wife afterwards. How many years after graduation did you?
I met my wife. No, because I've been a working student all my life, for most part, right? And I was employed, because of my background, I was employed with the construction planning for an airline, right? And she was also working there. And the thing is, I do the construction projects for the company, right? And she works for accounting. And then she was auditing my project. And I said, maybe one way of, not being really strict with her auditing, maybe I could start sort of court her. No, that's what I tease her.
You pretend like you had a vested interest in it.
No, I was just teasing her. But the thing is, like, that's how we met. She was auditing my project, and I was, more than happy to show her around and point out and give her what she needed for her audit. And their department have a specific person that is assigned for our department. And that person is on her building, and that person would always say, you should meet this guy. You should go out with this guy, right?
So somebody could tell that you two were...
But they made arrangement in terms of some activities, like she's very, athletic, and she likes certain sports, and they arranged like bowling. So a group of us from our office and a group of them from her office, would arrange a meet and things, and they would always sort of pair us or make arrangement on that regard. And then we both of us, my wife and I, we love to dance, right? We love to dance.
Oh, and Filipinos love ballroom dancing too. Yes.
Ballroom, disco, whatever. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we dated a lot on because we enjoy dancing, right? And we love to eat too. That's one.
You got to burn the calories.
That's right. That gives us an excuse, Right? We can eat because we're burning the calories anyway, right?
So you went discoing with your wife.
No, we love it. Even now, when we have the chance to be able to dance, right? Yeah, it's a funny thing, right? When we first moved to Pensacola from Toronto, right? We were looking for a church, and we found one. And of course, being the new face in the parish, right? Some other leaders who came forward, and the choir director came forward and said, "Hey, welcome to our church. How did you find us?" Right? And and we told her the story, and then she asked the wife, "Do you sing?" And of course, my wife sings, right? She has a beautiful voice, so she sings, and she loves to sing. And then she looked at me and said, "Can you sing?" And I said, "No, but I can dance." That's good enough. Be part of the choir.
Dancing is good enough for the choir. At least you can sway with everyone else,
like
right?
King David, right?
Now, you said you were in Toronto. So did you marry your wife first before you moved?
Yes, right after our wedding, we moved to Toronto. We migrated to Toronto, right? And we stayed there for about over 20 years. And then my work took me to Pensacola.
So you married in the Philippines?
Yes.
And then you moved to Toronto. Is that where you started having kids?
Our son was born in Toronto, yeah.
Okay. And how many kids do you have?
One.
Just him?
Yes.
So your son was born in Toronto, and then how long were you there before you moved to Florida?
About over 20 years. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
And did your son stay in Toronto since he's like 20 years old?
No.
How old was he?
I'm really thankful, right? Because that was one of the challenges that we have in making a decision whether I would accept that opportunity at work or not. Because he was in high school, right?
Okay,
Basically,
high school. Okay.
Right? So for several months, we have been bombarding them with Miami Vice or NCIS, Miami, right, just to get a sense, right? So he was enjoying it. Plus, what was the one thing that really sort of got him excited was when he saw this movie. What's that? The one with Nick Cannon, Drumline.
Okay. Is that in Miami as well?
No, it's not. But he wanted a school with a marching band.
Okay.
And because he's been taking drum lessons and piano lessons and things like that, right?
So that's good that you got him excited because it's tough to move during high school.
Exactly. And we were reminded of a friend, a family friend that they also moved to the States and almost the same age, the children were of the same age.
Yeah.
And they had some difficulties and they have to bring the kids back to Toronto, right? So we were really sort of nervous about that, but at the same time praying hard, guide us, lead us, and show us, how to sort of make this all work, right? And give DJ the strength and the wisdom to see things.
And he did he eventually join the marching band?
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
Well, when we were scouting around for the schools, right, around Pensacola, he was looking at each of the school bands, right, and the sports, right, where their standings are, how big is their band and all that. And he selected it actually, right? He selected the school, and that's the basis of where we find our new home.
How old is he now?
He's 28 right now.
Did he ever think about entering religious life?
Most likely not, because he's been very, very engaged in sports. He's a athletic trainer, physical therapy, therapies, and yeah.
In Toronto, is that where you became a deacon?
No, I was ordained in Florida.
What made you decide to seek out the diaconate?
Well, my wife and I have been very, very engaged in the church, whether it's in Manila, in Toronto, right? And when we were in Toronto, we were really active at Mother Park. We were one of the leaders in setting up the prayer group at our parish, right? Merciful Redeemer. See, everything sort of just guess where my kid was in Toronto. What school?
What school? I don't know. I have
Saint Faustina.
There you go.
Saint Faustina.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
In Toronto, right? And then our parish at Toronto was Merciful Redeemer.
And then in Florida?
Florida is St. Jude and St. Elizabeth.
What steps did you take toward becoming a deacon?
Well,
the
thing is, when we were in Toronto, the deacon there and the parish priest asked me once. They said, "You should be a deacon, right? You should consider that." And that's rekindled that spark that I had, right? So that sort of started it. And of course, I have to talk to my wife, right? And at that time, DJ, our son, Darvin John, right? We call him DJ. Still quite small, right? And we spoke about it. My wife and I were talking about it, and my wife said, "Maybe it's not the time, not the
Okay.
time." And I pondered on that, prayed for that, and both of us were praying. And I recognized where she's coming from, and I fully acknowledged that because it was very difficult. She was working, and I worked really long hours, right? And DJ would just be all by himself then, right? And still at a young age. So he said, "Yeah, not the time." So we let it go.
So, but that was still in the back of your mind.
It's still, that it's still like your first love, right? Jesus is my first love, right? It's just that, sometimes you say it, I say, but it really is. When you have that sense of feeling, right? Wherein you sort of try to be able to serve him. That's out of love, right? And it's there. It's always been there. That's why we're being very, very active in terms of our being active at the church, right? Because of that, being able to serve, right? So that was in Toronto. Then we moved to Pensacola. Again, we were very, very active, right? Parish council, religious education, right? Eucharistic minister or lector, right? And the choir, even though I just danced, right? So and then one Sunday before Mass, and we were on the choir section. Our parish priest, Father George, came over and said, "Have you ever considered being a deacon?" And, let me get back to you, Father.
Because you have.
Let me get back to you.
Now, question. In the Philippines, there are no deacons. I don't see deacons in the Philippines.
There are now.
There are now?
Yes.
Okay.
Or I think, if I'm not mistaken,
when I was there,
must be
there
more
were.
than 10 years that it's been
That it's
active.
okay,
right?
so at least it's starting to become more common.
It's starting to be more.
Okay,
and there
that's
are more
good.
and more men that are really opening up themselves to the diaconate, though, right? Yeah.
Because you see a lot of lay ministers in the Philippines, the men.
Yes.
But when I was there, at least, I didn't see any deacons. So when I was thinking maybe, that wasn't in the back of your mind yet, the possibility of becoming a deacon when you realize that priesthood might not be the right thing for you.
Yeah, because I had no idea at that time, right? Even when I left Manila, I have no idea what a deacon is.
Yes.
Yeah, because that is not a term that we normally use, or we don't see that in our churches before, right? But now I'm happy to note that it's really more and more men are going to the diaconate, right?
Oh, so that's good. So if you go to Manila, you could actually, if you visit, you could serve at a mass there. You assist the priest.
There's always
maybe?
a protocol, though.
Yes,
right?
of course. Yeah, their
ask
paperwork
permission.
and all of that.
Right.
But it's a possibility now.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. Yeah, definitely.
There's some red tape, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, it's just some protocol that needs to be met before. If you're outside of your parish or your diocese, there's certain protocol that needs to be.
Yeah, some communication between the parishes. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Now, you said you got that seed planted again in Florida.
Right.
What finally made you decide, okay, I'm going to pursue becoming a deacon?
My wife and I sat down and we discussed it. DJ now at that time was already pretty much completing his college studies, right? And we said, maybe it's time, right? And she asked me, what do you feel, right? So I said, I honestly feel that I can give a positive response to his calling, right? Offer myself.
Now's the time.
Right. I don't know how I'm going to do it, right? I don't know how I'm going to do it, but, one step at a time, right? One step at a time. So several weeks after, I went to see Father George, and I said, Father George, Felice and I have spoken and discussed this, and I believe that I would like to offer myself to serve.
On the show, we had Deacon Ray, and he talked about the whole process of becoming a deacon. Is it similar there in Florida as it is here in Texas?
Very, very similar. And the reason is because the program in itself is governed by the Catholic bishop, right?
Okay.
So, and most of the program is designed that way. Of course, there's some adaptation based on localities and things, but pretty much the same. Took us 6 years of formation, right?
So did you have that 1 year of discernment?
Yes.
The same way as Deacon Ray did?
First year is always a discernment.
Okay.
Wherein they complete the test, they have you attend specific forums and on that regard, and then look at you and then evaluate you from psychological tests and all that. Look at your background.
You and your wife as well, right?
Yes.
And then after that first year,
then you go into
the studies,
actual formation, right?
Okay.
Actual formation involve both the academic,
okay,
and then you have the ministry. First year you're assigned to a specific ministry, then the next year another ministry, right? So things like that.
Ministries in the parish.
Yes, within the parish, not the local church, but could be outside
in the diocese.
Like in the case, like within the diocese, of course. Just like if you're going to, let's say, what's this?
Deacon Ray said he was in the prison
ministry. Yes, I was on the prison ministry. Center for the homeless.
Oh,
right. And then you have the convalescent centers and things like that. So it's really sort of, this is where what they say when the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's really what we are. We're supposed to serve. Right.
Yes, at the grassroots level.
Yeah. It's not just being in front of the altar. Right.
Yes.
That's not the important. The important thing is being able to serve the community, the parish, right? And that, the way I see it is that's how I give back my love to Christ, right? Is being able to serve Him. If He can do things for me, even though I'm unworthy of it, right? My way of paying it back is being able to do something to someone.
There
right?
you go.
In my humble way, right?
Yes.
I couldn't do great things, but I can do it out of love for Christ and for the person that I'm attending to.
Now, you said that you took studies. Did you pursue a degree or a certificate of any sort?
Oh, in terms of the diaconate?
Yes.
No, it's more of formation, right? So we have courses from theological institution, Aquinas School of the very first course that we had actually was interesting because it was no less than the president of the Aquinas University as our professor, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know what was interesting in all that formation?
What's that?
Who were the really top professors?
Who
the nuns.
The nuns were the tough ones.
Yeah, the top ones are the nuns. Oh, they're great. They're great, but they're tough. They're tough. Yeah. We have several courses we're in. We have nuns as our professor, and they're really tough and really great though. Really great.
So 4 years, you said, of studies?
5 years.
5 years of studies.
Yes, total of 6.
So the first year was the discernment.
Discernment. Right.
And then the 5 years was service in different ministries as well as studies.
Studies, right. Yeah.
Now, Deacon Ray said during his interview that there were a lot of like counseling sessions and things like that where they evaluate their the marriage. He said that, he was always dreading whether or not he'd get a passing grade. Did you have something to that effect?
Similar. Basically, everything is being evaluated on a regular basis, right? All throughout. And then at the end of each term, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are fully evaluated with a very, very formal report that goes to the bishop,
Oh, wow.
because that basically gives them the process of recommending or not recommending you to go to the next stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's every term, right? That's every term, and they're tough. It's just like a military boot camp, right?
Really?
Oh, they squish you out though. Yeah, yeah. If you have any pride, by the end, if you're successful, that pride is basically depleted, because
Really?
they will not let you go through, right?
Oh,
But of
wow.
course, as human being, we still have that, right?
Yes, of course.
But they work you throughout that, right? Through that process, and maybe that's the reason why they're really that hard, because that's the basic thing as human being, right? We all have our pride, and how we manage that pride tells how our relationship with God is, right? That's why they're really very. And sometimes you and we think of it that way at that time, right? Even myself would think it that way, that they're really being mean, right? Unreasonable, right?
Uh-huh.
Right, because like even when they critique you,
Uh-huh.
oh, if you have any sense of dignity, it's gone by the time they finish their critique.
So,
right?
they criticize you like
they
every little thing, huh?
if it's hardly you could hear a praise.
Wow.
Right. It's really and that's really good. I mean, of course, during that time,
Uh-huh.
it hurts. it really hurts, right?
Yeah, because you're hearing things about yourself that you don't want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, like even when we're out there in our ministry, right? And we have to make a report on that, right? How we reacted, how we feel about that encounter, right?
Okay.
All right. And then you think that something, okay, I think I did well. Right? I feel good, right? Feel good. And then you submit your paper, right? They read it, and then, why did you do that? Why didn't you say this?
Oh.
Right? You should have directing him.
So you still messed up, huh?
Right. Regardless, you can't win, right? You can't win. But that's really, like, as they said, gold is tested by fire, right?
Yes, they really shape you by breaking you down.
Exactly. And I think what they're really trying to see is the how genuine, authentic you are.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because your intent was good.
Yes.
Right? Well, your intent was good, but did you respond properly? Right?
You could have done better.
I could have done better.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Now, so during this process, so it's a whole 6-year process.
Mm-hmm.
Did at any point did you say, "Man, maybe I should have just gone into the priesthood? It would have been easier."
No, not as a priesthood, because I know it's tougher priesthood, right? Right. Plus, as I said, I fully recognize God's plan at that time.
Yes.
when priesthood didn't sort of play out, right? I know that God has a plan, and I'm truly thankful for that. But there are several times, and really sort of a lot of times, wherein you said, maybe it's not really meant for me, right? The biggest struggle when you're into that kind of a situation, right, is a struggle within yourself, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest question I always have to ask myself and try to get an answer is a question of, is it my will or God's will?
Yes.
Is it just me wanting to be a deacon, or is it God calling me to be of service to Him? Right? Because we have our intent, right? And sometimes those intents are personal, right? But if you're really serious, especially when getting into religious life, right? Your intent has to line up with God's intent.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So that's the struggle. I mean, sometimes I would do things, right, as part of the formation or part of serving Him. The question always goes back. Is it God's will and intent or plan? Or is it just simply me, Jonathan, right? Acting or not acting, but doing things because it's just me, right?
Because you want to be there up on behind the altar.
Maybe
you want
up in the altar, or and all sorts of things, right?
Yes.
But that's really the struggle, and it's always within yourself, and that's where the question of pride comes in, right? It's a struggle with yourself, right? And as we say, pride is always the root of all
Yes.
sin, right? There's always that, and it's always that struggle. And there are several times, especially when it's too tough, right? Especially I'm working full time, right?
Yes.
And I remember one time, even the very first, after the discernment, the very first formation year, right? The schedule came up, right? It was given already to us. Say, okay, you guys are good. You're going to be on the first year of formation, right?
Okay.
This is the schedule now, right?
For all the meetings and the sessions and
classes
everything.
and everything, right?
Okay.
For the whole term, they give you out, right? One requirement is you can't miss anything. You're not allowed to miss
At all.
anything at all, period, right? That's the rule, right? Regardless what. Now, I look at the schedule. The very first day of classes, right, is where we have booked our cruise. And it's my son's 18th birthday.
Oh, no.
Right?
Oh, wow.
So
And it's already booked.
it's booked way ahead, right? And you tend to think that they would understand that you booked that prior to you getting a confirmation that you're part of the program, right?
Yes.
All right. So went to the director, to the formation director, and no excuse, right? You have to be able to attend that class, right? The good thing is the class is live online.
Okay.
All right. So now, but I'm on a cruise, right?
Yes.
I know that there is no internet in the middle of the ocean, right?
Okay.
But I also know that as far as the ship is concerned, they have some ways of communicating through the web, right?
Okay.
So there are ways and means. So what I said, okay, we're gonna go, right, to the cruise. I bought myself 100-foot power cable, 100-foot data cable. Right?
Okay.
Put it on my luggages, right? So all my laptop, power reserve, and all that stuff there, right? With the intent of, I'm going to talk to one of the crew, beg to be able to connect, right? That was the time wherein Wi-Fi is still not readily available on cruises, right? So we went in, and of course, we checked in, passed through the security, and then my wife went through, no problem. My son went through, no problem. And then my turn, right? X-ray machine. And they saw all these cables on one bag, right?
Yeah.
Sir, can you please go to the corner?
Yeah, because it's just like the airport. Yeah, they got
Right, yeah. And all the cables and everything. So why are you carrying all of these cables and all that stuff? And I said, well, I have to really attend a class, right? And after all the explanation, my son was saying, Dad! So they finally allowed it. And I was able to sort of attend the class, even though it's very weak, but at least they can see that I'm there.
You're there.
Right? Yeah, so I made it, right? I made it. So, yeah.
That's hilarious. Now, Deacon Ray said that when he went through the process, he had young children and they had home visits. Did they do a home visit with you since your son was in college?
Not a home visit, but they require, of course, my wife, and they talk to us on the context of how our family life is all coming along and all that, right?
How about your son? Did they interview him as well?
Since he's not on a regular basis, right? Yeah,
because he was in college already.
Plus, he's away, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's good, and it's just interesting how everything sort of turned out, right? We got challenges, and then God will just show you the way and give you the strength to carry through, right?
Was that the most difficult part? The commitment to making all of those meetings? Was that the most difficult part, or was it all of the criticisms and all of the
No, it's as I said, the biggest challenge is yourself, right?
Internally.
Right, internally. The hardest part really is when you're doing your service, right? The pastoral ministry, whether it's in a prison or thing, is how you can adjust, adapt, and be able to authentically provide what the need of the other party, right? Prison ministry. I know. I remember the last time I stepped, as part of our religious group thing was I was in high school, right? Bringing cigarettes to and we were just sort of entertaining the inmates, right?
Oh, so you did that even in high school in the
high
Philippines,
school, right?
huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah, we would bring cigarette packages, candies, and things like that, right? And so when it was our turn to do prison ministry, I didn't know how I would react, how I would respond, right? And I was really nervous in that sense because I don't know what to expect.
Yes, of course.
And the thing too is you're not just dealing with Catholics, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have sessions wherein it's multi-denominational, right? So yeah. So and they know their Bible. That's one thing. That's one thing.
So they'll challenge you.
They really know their Bible from page to page. They would go from one chapter to the other, right? And cite certain things, right? They know it. But it's good because it makes the session really lively and in a sense. And they do give you respect and they're not gonna force you and things like that, right? But it's really interesting, yeah.
During that whole process, did you meet guys or couples that you thought that would make it, but eventually didn't go?
Within the class, there are certain numbers of them based on different circumstances, right? Our first year, the very first one that left was because the wife passed away after a few months, right? So that's understandable.
Yes.
And we still communicate. He's still part. We always consider him part of the class, right? Yeah. And
but did you ever have any guys that, say, for example, they felt it wasn't right for them and they left, and you're like, if he can't make it, what about me? Did you ever feel like that?
That's right. Definitely. Like you see others that said, oh, definitely, he would be a deacon, no question there, right? Yeah, with his statutes, the way he talked, and the kind of experience that he had, right? He would make it, right? How about me? How about me? You feel like, oh, maybe this is not for me really, right? And then you see them leave, right? Oh, if that guy is leaving, right? What about me? Back to that question, how about me, Lord? How about me, right? So yeah. But it's just that it's just like the more you encounter difficulties and challenges, right? And I'm one that doesn't surrender the challenges, right? I mean, my life taught me that based from my parents and my family. They always have taught us, be a fighter, don't give up so easily, right? Struggle is just part of the process, right? If you really aim, you really have that objective, work for it, right? And that has served me well all my life. And the same thing with the diaconate formation, though. It's just, Lord, give me the strength, show me the way, right? If this is not your way, then let me realize it now. Now, Lord, please. Really? I'm suffering, Lord. No, but seriously, yeah, it's always that. And the beauty is, I'm not just by myself. My wife is there.
Yes.
Right? Without her, I couldn't make it, right? She is my rock, right? There's no question about it. She is my rock, and there are times wherein I might be short in praying or really contemplating, but she would really pray hard, and really pray hard for me, right? She knows that I'm struggling in all sorts of forms, right? And then she would just pray, and because without her, I won't be a deacon, right? Because first and foremost, as our director says from day one, if I hear one complaint from your from your wife
Uh-huh.
in terms how it's impacting your family life or your married life,
Uh-huh.
you're out,
Oh, yeah.
right? You're out, right? So every term after our interview, the next person they will interview is the wife
Uh-huh.
on their own, right? On their own. So we're out of the room, right? And that's basically they can say whatever they want, right? Yeah.
So there's a couple interview and then there's
Yes.
individual interviews.
Yeah.
Fast forwarding to you finally being ordained a deacon.
Mm-hmm.
What did that feel like?
It's it's just I could compare it, but it's more like when my wife said yes, she's willing to marry me.
Uh-huh.
The birth of my son,
Uh-huh.
right? And our wedding day, right?
Uh-huh.
That and then being ordained is that level of joy.
So it's right up there with those three.
No question, no question. The joy is just too much, but it's a humbling experience too, right?
Really?
It is because as you lay prostrate in front of the altar as part of your ordination, right? You're saying, "Lord, here I am, ready to serve you," right? But am I worthy? Can I do your will? Can I do your plan? Can I do what you want me to do, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, you say, okay, Lord, take control, right? It's out of my hand now, Lord. I'm just offering myself. It's on your hand. Take control, right? And it's that sort of surrender. If you allow the Lord and the Holy Spirit to just work on you, then you can get a sense that you're fulfilling what you are called for.
As a deacon, what was the thing that really made you think, wow, I'm a deacon? Was it being able to baptize? Was it making holy water? What was the thing that really that really touched you the most, among your first duties as a...
Being able to be given the opportunity to speak more about God. Not preaching.
Oh, not at
the altar, right? Being able to openly express that relationship, because faith is really a personal relationship, right? Like you love your wife, right?
Yes.
And you would be more than happy to tell your story, right? To tell about that relationship that you and your wife have, right? With somebody, not on a preaching term, but sharing, right?
Yes.
It's sharing the joy. It's the same thing. Being able, as you serve, right? Especially as we said earlier, that our main function is to serve, right?
Yes.
And that's a direct interaction with others, right? Either it's one-on-one or by group, right? But that whole process of walking the faith with them is basically sharing your relationship with God and allowing them to build that relationship, that personal relationship with Him, right? That is the greatest joy, wherein I can tell you that, hey, I remember that one time I was really down, nowhere to go, right? And I just look up and I know and I got this sense that God is there, right? And He showed me, He took my hands and He walked me through the challenges, right? And then how you build that relationship with Him. Being able to share that is the greatest joy. It's not preaching. It's not just sharing that relationship, right? Because that, as a deacon, right, and your focus is serving, you're given more opportunities to be able to do that. Yeah.
Now, there are certain rules for deacons when it comes to like you and your wife. Let's say if something, God forbid, were to happen to your wife, you can't marry again, can you?
No. And that was one of the very first questions they asked you during discernment, right? Is, have you given that? And what is your answer, right? And that is a question one-on-one without the wife, right? Okay. And this is how I responded, right? And I really mean it, right? I said, I have loved my wife so much. I've given all my love and willing to give that love, right? If she would be going ahead of me, right? Then I won't be able to love the next person the same way as I would have loved her.
Yes.
Right? But and you hear that a lot in terms of, oh, when she's gone, you need some company, right? No, I would rather put my love, that love that I have for her, to God, to Christ, to the church, to the people that I serve, right? And my wife was saying, and as I said, prior to that point, we were talking, right? And she said, you know that you won't be able to marry, but I want you to marry when I'm gone, right? I want you to marry. She's told me that several times,
really?
right? Yeah. And I have to explain to her. I said, I can't because I have given you this love that I not be able to give to somebody else, right? But I can give it there, and I can give it as a service, right?
Now, if you went first, would she be able to marry again?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So it's just the other way around.
Right. Because she was not the one ordained, right? But although I tease her, right? Because she attends classes and all that formation days with us, right? I said, I guess, my dear, you'll be the first one to be ordained than me.
Now, what other rules do you have as a deacon that people don't really know about?
I think one important thing to remember is we represent the church, right, as clerics, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that from a political standpoint, we're not really sort of there in terms of speaking our own mind, right? Because we have to speak from the church, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to be neutral.
Neutral on the
on the outside.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes people don't see that, right? Especially if there are issues, call it political issues, and they want your opinion, right? And from a public standpoint, we can't really sort of say that. We can't take public office, definitely, right? So those kind of things, right? Yeah.
How long did you serve as a deacon in Florida?
This would be, I'm on a little over my 4th year now.
Okay, so
so
they got about
3 years.
3+ years, almost 4 years there in Florida.
Right.
And then it was work that brought you here to Houston?
Yes, because even though I was based in Florida, my reporting office is here in Houston.
Oh, okay.
So I travel here every now and then, right? Plus my son is also here, right? So, yeah.
So he came here ahead of you?
Oh, yes, because he took his master's at San Marcos, Texas State, right? Yeah. And then after his graduation from his master's, he ended up a job here in Houston, so he stayed here.
Oh, so it was the kid that went first, and then the parents followed.
That's right, yeah. I was asking my son, DJ, can you take care of our relocation costs?
So he's, what's his parish here in the Archdiocese?
Oh, he's in Sugar Land, right?
He's in St. Teresa?
St. Teresa, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he try to get you to go to St. Teresa instead of here at St. Faustina?
No. The thing is, when we decided to move, and I told my wife and DJ that, that I cannot choose as far as where our parish would be, right? It is up to the Archbishop to decide where to put you, right?
Okay.
And I'm totally open with that. I have no preference or whatsoever.
So you could have been anywhere in the Archdiocese.
Yep.
Like all the way up in the Woodlands or in Spring.
But it depends too. I mean, they try to be more practical, of course, right? They recognize that you have family, you have work and all that stuff, right? So, yeah. But, so we're open, and Felice is very open to that when I mentioned that to her. And said, just let the Lord take us where He wants us to be, right? So we went around, just going from church, doing Sundays, just to get a sense of where they are. I said, okay, where would the Lord would lead us, right? Yeah. But this is really a very dynamic and really welcoming community, though. And we're truly, when we got the letter for the assignment, wow, Lord, thank you. Thank you. It's truly a blessing.
Now, this is something that I've had to deal with, or not really deal with, but it's something that I've experienced, and I'm wondering if you experienced this as well. You don't look too Filipino, so do people come up to you and start speaking Spanish right away, thinking that you're you can speak Spanish?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
Because even your name, Jonathan Ignacio.
Right. And some called me Ignacio, right? Because in Spanish, it's more of a first name than a last name, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Right. So they would call me Ignacio, and that's fine. I'm comfortable. But the only thing is, I feel bad because I couldn't carry the conversation.
Yes.
Initially, yes, I could a little bit, right, and I could answer a little here and there because I could understand. But beyond that, I wish I could really be able to carry the conversation more in the language, right? So as I said, I'm working on it, right?
I know, because when I was working in a school that was in a primarily Spanish-speaking population, the kids would walk up to me and say, "Maestro," I'm like,
Right.
"I'm so sorry, I don't understand."
Espera, no comprendo, right?
I know. You speak Filipino? No. But anyway, so you're now here at St. Faustina. You said you're very happy where you are right now because you said that it's a very dynamic church. No plans of going anywhere else? The long term, you're going to be here?
No. We take it as the Lord leads us to. Right, yeah.
And your son, you say he's engaged.
He is pretty much with his fiancée. So in that sense, we're waiting.
Is she from Houston as well?
No, they met in Florida, and then her parents now is in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but she's also working here in Texas, actually in San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility they could move to San Antonio after getting married?
Could be. Right. Could be. Yeah. I mean, we're not, and we keep on telling DJ, right? We're not moving here simply because we just want to be near you, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a blessing, right? It's a blessing, but we respect your life, right? And whatever the future life in terms of having a family and all that, right? So don't look at it on that context that you have to be close to us and think it would be a blessing if we would be able to do that, and we would be thrilled and happy. But of course, you have your life, right? Yeah.
Now, here at St. Faustina, you're the newest permanent deacon here at St. Faustina. Do you have any plans, any objectives when you thought about coming to St. Faustina? Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Was there anything that in particular that you thought about wanting to do when you came here?
Not really in particular, and not. I'm here to serve Padre Dad's sort of needs and the parish needs, right? I'm very open, and I love to do several things, right? But wherever Padre Dad decides that he needs me in terms of assisting him and the parish on that regard, I'm very open, and I would be more than happy to sort of be able to do it. Yeah.
Even if he said, okay, we need somebody in the choir, even if you can only dance.
I was telling Jeffrey, right? I said, Jeffrey, I don't really sing, but in case that you need rapping, maybe we can talk. I said, well, and Jeffrey said, let me just check with Padre Dad first.
So we thank you so much for coming and taking the time to sit down with us and to tell your story.
Well, I thank you for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity, right, to be able to talk a bit more about myself. As you said earlier, right, we don't get to meet everyone after the Mass, and this medium definitely allows people to have some idea or some information about my wife and I. But at the same time, I'd like to take this opportunity, though, to really thank Padre Dad for giving me the opportunity to be part of the parish and, of course, the Archbishop in that sense. But really thankful for welcoming me and the community. As I said, this is truly a very, very welcoming community. And from day one, Felice and I felt that we are truly welcome here. And God has truly placed us here for His purpose. And we are truly thankful for that. Thank you, Padre Dad. Thank you, St. Faustina Parish family. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
We look forward to having you here at St. Faustina for many years to come.
Thank you.